Aaron tightened the last bolt with a grunt, tossing the wrench onto the counter just as his stomach gave a low, angry growl. 12 hours, 12 brutal hours of bending over greasy engines, cursing strip screws, and pretending not to notice when customers stiffed him on tips. And now nothing but $3 in his pocket and half a tank of gas in his beaten-down truck. He slung his jacket over his shoulder and was about to head out when he spotted her. A sleek black SUV, hazards blinking wildly, was pulled half up onto the curb just across the street. Right outside the 24-hour diner, he sometimes washed dishes at the to make ends meet. The driver's side door swung open, and a woman in a white blouse and dusty jeans jumped out, pacing in front of the hood, holding her phone high in the air, desperate for a signal. Aaron hesitated. Not my problem, he thought grimly. It was late. He was tired. And women like her, they didn't even look at guys like him twice. But then he saw it. The fear in her eyes. She wasn't just stranded. She was scared. And against every exhausted bone in his body, Aaron jogged across the street. Need help, he called out, pushing his hands into his pockets so he wouldn't look threatening. The woman jumped a little, then turned. Up close, Aaron noticed the smudges of dirt on her jeans, the scuff marks on her boots, the way her blouse was creased from a long drive. She looked normal, not the kind of polished rich girl he had assumed. My car just, she cut off, her voice tight. It just died completely. And my phone's dead, too. Aaron gave a short, understanding nod. Pop the hood. I'll take a look. Are you a mechanic? He shrugged. Sort of. On a good day. Something about his easy smile must have reassured her because she smiled back, a small, exhausted thing, and reached inside to release the hood latch. As he worked, Aaron could feel her hovering, nervous but grateful. The engine was fried, but not dead yet. A loose connection, probably something simple. You're lucky, he said, wiping his hands on a rag. Battery cable's loose. I can fix it enough to get you moving again. He expected hesitation. Instead, she just said, thank you. No bargaining, no suspicion, just pure genuine gratitude. And maybe that's why Aaron didn't charge her a cent. Didn't even ask. 15 minutes later, he slammed the hood shut and gave the SUV a friendly pat. Try it now. The engine rumbled to life, deep and smooth. The woman's face broke into a brilliant, relieved smile. It hit Aaron harder than he expected. For a moment, standing there in the dim street lights, it felt like he had done something good in a world that had forgotten what good even looked like. How much do I owe you? She asked, pulling out her purse. Aaron shook his head. Nothing. Her brow furrowed. Nothing. He smiled again, bigger this time. Just pass it on. Help somebody else sometime. The woman blinked, stunned, like he had just spoken a language she hadn't heard in a long, long time. Thank you, she said again, but this time her voice cracked a little like maybe she wasn't just talking about the car. Aaron shrugged it off, embarrassed. He watched her drive away, her tail lights disappearing into the night, feeling lighter somehow. He didn't know her name. He didn't know she'd be back. He didn't know that midnight wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. The clock on the wall read 12:03 a.m. when the knock came. Aaron sat alone at the battered kitchen table in his tiny rented room above the garage, nursing a cracked mug of black coffee. He frowned. No one came here after dark. No one came here, period. The knock came again, sharper this time. Urgent. He set the mug down and crossed to the door, squinting through the dirty window pane. His heart stuttered. A black SUV. Same one. Before he could even think, he unlocked the door. There she was, standing on his porch, dripping with exhaustion, a hesitant smile tugging at her lips. I hope I'm not disturbing you, she said softly. Aaron rubbed the back of his neck, suddenly hyper-aware of the peeling paint, the broken porch light, the visible poverty wrapping around his life like chains. No, not at all, he managed. I didn't get a chance to properly thank you earlier, she said. Then she lifted something from behind her. A small cardboard tray balanced in her hands. Aaron blinked. Coffee and food, she said a little breathless. I figured you might not have had dinner yet. He stood there for a second, too stunned to speak. Not because she brought food, but because nobody had thought about him like that in years. I didn't do expecting anything, he said, almost defensive. She smiled, warm, genuine. I know. That's why you deserve it. Reluctantly, awkwardly, Aaron stepped back and let her inside. She crossed the threshold and for the first time, he saw her clearly under the harsh overhead light. She looked expensive, not flashy, not fake, real. Her boots were real leather. Her jeans were designer, worn in the way only the real thing could be. Her blouse, even rumpled, whispered, money. Aaron's stomach tightened. You're not from around here, are you? He asked, half joking. She laughed. A soft musical sound that filled the hollow space of his broken home. No, she admitted. I was just passing through, got a little lost. They sat across from each other at the tiny table. She slid a takeout box toward him, a massive cheeseburger, fries, and a slice of apple pie. He hesitated only a second before digging in, starving. As he ate, she watched him with an unreadable expression, her coffee untouched in her hands. You really don't know who I am, do you? She asked after a while. Aaron wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Should I? She smiled again. This time, there was a hint of sadness behind it. No, that's what makes you different. The words confused him, but before he could ask, she stood, reaching into her pocket. Aaron tensed. People didn't just give you something for free. There was always a catch, always. But instead of a wallet, she pulled out a slim silver business card. No name, no title, just a phone number embossed in black. If you ever need anything, she said, holding it out, call this number. Aaron stared at it. It looked Southwest out of place in his grease-stained world. I don't get it, he said roughly. Why? Her eyes softened. Because good people deserve good things, she said simply. Then she turned and walked back into the night, leaving Aaron holding the card like it was something dangerous, something sacred. He watched her drive away again, headlights cutting a path into the dark. When he finally sat down, the card still burning a hole in his palm. He knew one thing for sure. Nothing about tonight was normal. And somehow deep in his gut, he knew his life had just shifted. He just didn't know how big the change would be yet. Aaron didn't sleep that night. The silver card sat on the table, glinting under the broken kitchen light like a secret he wasn't supposed to know about. By morning, he convinced himself it was nothing. Just a crazy rich girl with too much gratitude. Nothing was going to change. Life didn't just change overnight. Not for people like him. He tossed the card into a drawer and went back to work. By noon, the garage was sweltering. Aaron was elbow deep in a transmission job when he heard it. The low rumbling growl of an engine too expensive for this side of town. He wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand, heart already sinking. Rich guy, wrong address, probably lost. But when he looked up, his mouth went dry. It wasn't a guy, it was her. And she wasn't alone. Two black SUVs idled by the curb, sleek and polished. A man in a dark suit opened the rear door. And the woman, wearing tailored slacks and sunglasses that probably cost more than Aaron made in 6 months, stepped out. Aaron straightened instinctively, wiping his hands on his jeans, feeling more like a mess than he ever had. She walked toward him like she belonged everywhere she went. Confident, calm, untouchable. Behind her, a second man emerged, a broad-shouldered bodyguard type who surveyed the rundown garage like it was a crime scene. Aaron swallowed hard. He was way out his depth. Hi again, she said, removing her sunglasses. Her eyes were clear and direct. Aaron gave a stiff nod. Hey, she smiled a little at his awkwardness. I never properly introduced myself, she said. I'm Leah Whitmore. The name hit him like a punch to the chest. Whitor. Whitmore Industries, Whitmore Hotels, Whitmore everything. He had seen her name on the news, on magazine covers, on Forbes. Billionaire Aries, self-made CEO after her father's scandal. One of the most powerful women in the country, and she was standing here in his junkyard of a life, talking to him like he mattered. I wanted to thank you, she continued in a more official capacity. Aaron could barely speak. You don't have to do anything, he said hoarsely. I didn't even do much. You helped me, she said simply. When you didn't have to, when you could have turned away. She looked around. The peeling paint, the broken pavement, the rusted signs. You deserved better than this a long time ago, she said softly. Aaron didn't know what to say. His throat was tight. His hand shook. Come with me, she said suddenly. Right now, Aaron blinked. What? Come with me, she repeated more firmly. I have something to show you. He stared at her, at the suited men, at the gleaming black SUVs, and felt his whole world teeter on the edge. And then, like stepping off a cliff without thinking, he nodded. He didn't even lock the garage door behind him. The ride was silent at first. Aaron sat rigid in the back seat, feeling out of place, like a kid in a grown-up world. The leather seats, the faint scent of expensive cologne, the tinted windows, it all screamed money, power. He glanced at Leia. She sat calmly scrolling something on her phone as if dragging a broke mechanic across town was a normal Tuesday. Finally, Aaron found his voice. Where are we going? You'll see, she said with a small smile. The SUVs wound through streets. Aaron barely recognized. High-end districts, glass skyscrapers. Shiny knew everything. He had never been on this side of the city. When they finally pulled into a massive glass building with a gold edge sign reading Whitmore Ventures, Aaron's heart nearly stopped. No, he said immediately, shaking his head. No way. This isn't for me. Leia turned to him, her expression kind but firm. Trust me. 2 minutes later, he was standing in a marble lobby under a chandelier bigger than his entire garage. People in suits brushed past, talking in a wireless earbuds, clutching tablets. Aaron stood there in his faded jeans and grease-stained boots, feeling like he had crash-landed on another planet. Then Leia led him to a small conference room, simple, elegant, private, and on the table inside a single piece of paper. A contract. Aaron blinked down at it. Ownership transfer agreement. He looked up at her, his mouth dry. I don't understand. I bought your garage, she said simply. Aaron's stomach twisted. You what? He choked out. I bought it, she said again, like it was obvious. And I'm giving it back to you. Detri, renovated, new tools, a fresh start. Aaron shook his head wildly, backing away. This is crazy. You can't just. People don't just. People don't, Leia said quietly. But I do. He stared at her, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. Why, he whispered. Hila smiled. A real heartbreaking smile. Because once, she said softly. Someone helped me when I had nothing. And I swore I'd pay it forward if I ever could. She slid the pen toward him. Aaron stood frozen, shaking. He had spent his whole life clawing for scraps. Told he wasn't good enough. Taught to expect nothing, to believe that dreams were for other people. And now he sat down, picked up the pen, and with a hand that didn't stop trembling, he signed his name. Aaron reopened Eagle Auto Repairs 3 weeks later. Except now, it didn't look like a dying relic. It looked brand new. Repainted walls, polished floors, a full set of gleaming tools he used to only dream about. Customers started rolling in faster than he could handle. For the first time, people noticed him. But success had a price. Old friends came crawling back pretending they had always believed in him. The landlord who had once sneered his late rent showed up trying to demand a bigger cut. You think you're better than us now? One of the nearby shop owners spat one afternoon. Just 'cause some rich woman took pity on you. Aaron clenched his fists but said nothing. Deep down he knew they were wrong. Leia hadn't given him success. She had given him a chance. He was the one who earned it. Still their words stuck. One evening while closing up, he found a brick smashed through the front window. Glass glittered everywhere like cruel stars. No apology, just hate. Aaron stood there in the broken silence, his hands curling into tight fists. He had worked too damn hard for this. He wasn't going back. Not now. Not ever. He cleaned up the glass himself, hard hammering. The next morning, he installed cameras. He fortified the windows. He kept his chin up when the stairs got colder because somewhere deep inside he wasn't that scared broke mechanic anymore. Ela called, sometimes checking in. Always casual, never pushy. "You holding up?" she'd ask. "Trying," he'd say with a small smile. And every time she hung up, Aaron felt stronger. But just when he thought he was finally standing on solid ground, the past came knocking, literally. And it wasn't kind. It was a Saturday when Aaron's father showed up. Not because he missed him, not because he cared, but because now suddenly Aaron was worth something. "Didn't think you'd ever make anything of yourself," his father said, stepping into the garage like he owned the place. Aaron froze. Old memories clawed back. Nights spent hungry, fists slamming on doors, being told he was a failure, a waste, unwanted. And now here he was smiling like none of it happened, holding out his hand like they were family.